All right, Sean Zattel here with undefeated DJ Zamora, now 16-0, 11 knockouts. And DJ, man, let's get right to that last fight. You know, your last two fights, you got in knockouts against opponents with much better records than the two fighters before that, and you went the distance with those two guys.
Yeah.
So what's changing? You're knocking out tougher opposition as opposed to going the distance with guys who weren't as strong. Why is that?
You know, I think, you know, it's the activity. You know, that's a big, you know, reason why, you know, I came over to Top Rank in the first place. I wanted to be more active, and they're doing just that. And you know, you see the results of me, you know, just being able to get back in there and, you know, just you know, learn things in the ring and also just get my feet wet and get more comfortable, you know, so that way, you know, I'll be able to show more of my skill in the ring, and you know, it'll be able to translate more from the gym and training and practice into the fight. And I think you guys are seeing that, you know. Before these last two fights, I've been really working on, you know, sitting down on my punches and closing my fist tighter and punching with a tight fist and really turning my shots over. And you know, I believe in the last few fights, you know, I've been able to do that.
Yeah, because you're a big 130 pounder, wouldn't you say? So the power's got to be there.
It's crazy, you know, as big as I am, you know, shoot, my first fight on Top Rank in June of last year, the guy was taller than me, and then in this fight coming up, you know, the guy was actually the same size as me. So, you know, but I do believe I'm on the bigger side of 130, and you know, that's that.
Yeah, that's in your favor. But you know, after the knockout, like, there was a lot of emotion that came out of you. Could you talk about that? Is it at all feeling like a breakthrough at the professional level? Like, is that part of what that emotion was, or what would you say it is?
Well, one, I was just having fun. You know, it was a good fight, great fight. You know, props to my opponent. You know, he came tough and he came to win. You know, he won two small titles before he fought me. So, you know, we knew coming in that, you know, he was going to be a tough game opponent, and he gave me a good fight. So, you know, I feel like once, you know, after the knockout, I was just really hyped, and, you know, you guys saw a lot of that. And not only that, but another reason why is, you know, is fighting in my hometown, fighting in front of my fans and friends and family. You know, just wanted to make sure I put on a great show. And so, you know, those are the two big factors that played a part in, you know, why, you know, I showed a lot of excitement and hype after that.
Well, you mentioned just feeling more comfortable fighting on ESPN, fighting on Top Rank shows. But what about the confidence? Is that confidence starting to burst out?
I think that's another thing too. You know, at first, you know, like you said, fighting on TV, knowing that it's being broadcasted on ESPN Plus. You know, it was a little, you know, overwhelming at first. You know, if I'm being honest, but you know, as the fights grew on and as I got more and more into the ring, you know, I feel like I'm starting to settle in, you know, and really just be more comfortable and, like you said, more confident.
Yeah, is that a little bit of pressure when a promoters like Top Rank, if they start to not like what they see, guys get dropped before they get that title fight and everything? Is that extra pressure at times that you had to deal with?
I feel like it can be, you know, especially for what Top Rank is, and you know, who they brought up and the history that they have with great fighters and great champions. You know, so, you know, I feel like all fighters really just want to, you know, follow in that path, especially, you know, Top Rank fighters being with Top Rank. But, you know, with me personally, I'm just, you know, just focusing on what I can control, and, you know, just being present in the moment and trusting in my training and my team, and, you know, just walking the path that, you know, the hard work is set for me, and not only that, but what God has set for me too.
Well, you know, talking about God, I'm sure your parents, your pops brought you up like that, and can you talk about the dynamic of being your father's son for a minute? I'm sure he held you very accountable, was very serious with you at a young age to make you a man younger than maybe other men were, because this sport requires that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a major reason why I am who I am today. Definitely the number one reason and why I work so hard, and, you know, why my discipline is the way that it is. You know, without him, my dad, I don't think, you know, I would even be in boxing, to be honest. You know, he's the one that got me into it, got me into the Mayweather training camp when I was a little kid. But not only that, but with him being my dad, I feel like it's added, it's an added motivation, because he not only knows what to expect from me as a fighter, but he knows where I'm at, and he expects a lot from me as his son as well. So he knows what levels that he can push me to, and how far he can push me, so that he can make sure that I'm getting the best out of me.
Yeah, because from the outside, sometimes I think people are like, "Oh man, the boxing dads are too hard," but I imagine you guys actually want to repay their sacrifice.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm with him every day,
Right.
In the gym, and not only at the gym, in the gym, but at home. So, I see the sacrifices that, he's laying forth for me to make sure that, my career is what it is, and, that I can be the best that I can be. So, I just want to be able to give that back to him.
Right. And then, you sparred the who's who out here in Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, the question is, who haven't I sparred?
Right.
That's the thing about being in Vegas, and you never have to go too far for sparring, and it's the mecca of boxing. So everybody comes, looking for work and training camp. So I've been able to be blessed to have the opportunities and experiences with everybody. I mean, you name them, I've probably sparred them. So. Yeah.
Is there any one fighter that stands out above the rest as the best you felt like you've been in the ring with, or are there a couple of guys you gotta mention at the top of the top?
I mean, there's a couple of guys. I mean, just in my gym alone, you have Bruce Shushu Carrington and Kenneth Bossman Sims. Guys like that. You got upcoming guys, that have actually helped me for this camp. And then you've got guys that are on the pound for pound list, like Bud Crawford. I had the chance to share the ring with him, and Shakur Stevenson as well, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. So I mean, just being able to be in there with those guys, just not only gives me great experience, but also adds to my confidence level as well, knowing that I can be in there and give these guys good work.
Well, let me try to separate it in categories. We'll go categories real quick. Speed. Who's the fastest that you've shared the ring with?
I think when it comes to hand speed, I would say Ryan is the fastest. Foot speed, I don't know. It's a toss-up. Devin's got great footwork.
He does, yeah.
Tank also very explosive,
With
very
the pivots,
fast with
quick
his feet.
pivots.
Yeah, he's got like a quick explosive step, like first step.
Right.
Shakur as well, he's got great hand speed. I mean, all these guys are the top of the top for a reason. They've all got, great attributes, but I would say hand speed, definitely Ryan Garcia is the fastest.
And then Devin was the first one you mentioned for foot speed, it sounded like. So
Yeah, because, I mean, he's got great feet.
Who do you think wins that? Well, they got to get past Rolly and Ramirez. It's the two former champions, so that's not a for sure. But yeah, what do you think of their two upcoming fights? And if they win, do you think Devin could win a rematch, or is Garcia got his number?
No, I mean, definitely. Devin probably went back into the gym and perfected a lot of flaws that he probably watched back and saw from the first fight. And also, I think these fights upcoming for both of them is going to show and dictate, how the second fight is going to go between them. Granted, they both, look good and both get victories, but I definitely think Devin can get back. I mean, there was times in that fight where he got on his shield, or not on his shield, but he got on his bike and was boxing really well, and even hurt Ryan. So
With a left hook?
Yeah. So
yeah.
definitely, I wouldn't put it past it.
Power. Who's the creme de la creme of the power that you?
Tank. I think Tank has probably. He's got power that it's like. Not only can he hurt you, but he can finish you as well. He knows how to turn it up, and he punches with a different level of aggression. That's what I took, from that sparring, and have added it to my game. So, I was telling, in the fighter meeting leading up to this fight, I was telling, everybody that, I really wanted to show my tenacity in this upcoming fight, punching like I said, with a different level of aggression.
With conviction.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Really wanting to, not only knock these guys out, but, hurt them. I mean, it's a hurt sport, so you got to be willing to hurt somebody.
It takes a certain level of conviction, right? Because sometimes you'll be tempted to not fully commit to the shot, worried about the counter or what's coming back. But like in your last fight, you could tell you were just punching through the target, not, yeah.
And my
swimming
dad,
without getting wet, too.
Right.
My
coach always tells me as well, like, when you're using your offense, you have to depend on your offense being your defense as well. So you have to fully commit to your offense in order for that to work. If you throw a jab and not really committing to it, that's when the counters really come, because they know, oh, it's not a real jab. So he's more focused on
if anything,
on
I'll
what
eat
I'm
this shit
doing.
and just shoot over the top,
So,
because it's not.
I mean, not only that, but so I've been really focusing on that, and just listening to my coaches and my training. It's speaking for itself.
Well, that brings us to the next category, counterpunching. Who's the best counterpuncher you felt like you've been in with? I got a name in mind, but you didn't say him right away, so we'll see.
I don't know, man.
I could have swore you'd say Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, Bud does have good counter punching. He did catch me with a counter shot. Yeah, Bud, Shakur, like any of those guys, like in that Keyshawn as well. They're all from the same group, so
Yeah.
they all have really good eyes. I think that's why their counter punching is so good. Especially with Bud, it was like getting in the ring with a grandmaster. Like he kind of knew what I was gonna do before I did it, and even after sparring, he was telling me like, hey, you got to disguise your punches, a little bit more, because when we were in there, I was already knowing what you were going to do before you did it. So when you did it, you made it easier for me to, make you to capitalize on your mistakes. So, very thankful for him for bringing me aside and telling me that after sparring too. So.
What's the key to disguise? Is it feints? Or is it more than just feints too?
Feints, head movement, disguising with other punches. Just there's a lot of factors. Just making sure that it's not the same thing over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think his fight with Canelo coming up, Crawford? Do you think he could pull that off despite having to go up to 68 and everything?
Skill-wise, I do. Crawford's a great skill fighter, but so is Canelo, and the main factor is just size, really. I know Crawford's big, and I know he's been bulking up for this fight. I've seen a couple pictures of him. He looks really, really in shape. But you also have to be comfortable at that weight as well, not only just in the fight. So I mean, it's gonna depend, and not only that, but Crawford came up from 135. So I mean, you don't know how that's gonna play out either. As far as punch resistance goes. Getting hit by a guy that, is way bigger, and not only at 168, but, walks around heavier than that and cuts down the fight at 168. So, I believe skill-wise he definitely can, but the biggest factor is just the size.
And lastly, too, man, just because you got that experience with Gervonta in the ring, what did you think of that Roach fight? Do you think he wasn't, for whatever reason, all the way Gervonta, or was Roach just, did what he did? And then what do you think of the rematch?
I feel like a lot of people are discrediting Lamont Roach. He's a great fighter, and not only that, but, him and Tank grew up with each other, same area, they sparred each other a bunch of times, so I mean, it's easier to go in there with a guy that you've known and you're familiar with, because you know what shots are coming and you know what to expect as far as power goes. That's the biggest thing. But as far as Tank, I feel like, he was talking about, retiring in the press conference. Whether or not that played a factor, I don't know. That's on him. But I definitely feel like when the second fight comes, I feel like he's going to be a lot more focused on making a statement. I think he's going to do way better.
Yeah, when you were watching the first fight at all, were you saying to yourself or your dad, like, man, something's like, that's not the guy I had to go up against, or no?
I feel like you saw glimpses of it, like,
yeah.
short. The beginning of the fight, I mean, I know, granted, he always starts a little slow, but when he picked it up, you seen what, you've seen glimpses of the tank from before. So I feel like this upcoming next fight, I feel like you're gonna see a lot more of that.
Right, but Roach in those flashes had an answer for it.
Exactly.
So right.
So I mean, it's gonna be an even better fight. The second fight better than the first one. I definitely believe that.
Yeah. Well, hey, DJ, appreciate you, man. 16-0 now, 11 knockouts. I'm sure you'll be back in the ring, not too far away. I imagine only maybe 2-3 months, probably, right? Something like that.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. But congrats, man. Congrats on getting the dub. And thanks for your time, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.